Good evening, everyone. Welcome and hello. So tonight we'll be heading into the cold lands and starting a whole new adventure. For those of you who might know DM Dave, this adventure is a homebrew twist on one of his tales called Duergar at the Snowed Inn. So as we get started, you may recognize a few things from some of his one-shots. So thank you to him for all of his wonderful work, writing wonderful stories and creating wonderful adventures for all of us to enjoy. I hope you'll go check out his work over on his website or perhaps over on Instagram. He's got some really cool stuff going on over there as well. Tonight we'll be doing possibly a part 1 and next week a part 2. We'll just have to see how far this goes because it's kind of a cool story and I don't want to rush things today. As well, we have kind of a couple cool announcements. Last week we talked about possibly starting a submission box for those of us who have some cool ideas of things we want to do here on the channel. So I finally got that up for us. So if any of you guys have some cool ideas of stories you want to see, possibly even some art you'd like to have me try out, we do have a submission box now down there on the Twitch channel. So I hope you guys will pop by and say, hey, we really liked seeing you do something in Neverwinter, or hey, I really want to know more about this particular character. Can we come back and do that some more? Or it'd be really interesting to do some more watercolors or try a pastel for us. Or I remember one time you told us a story about getting crazy with charcoal. Let's do that next week. Anything you guys want to throw in there, we would love to see that. As well, I did finally get together a couple of links to some social media. So I'd love to see you guys follow along either on Facebook or Instagram. Come join us. I got together a Facebook group for us, Tales of Adventure. It's there for anyone who really loves storytelling or would love to share some art. I remember last week some of you guys shared that you are also artists. So come over and join us. It's there. It's for fun. It's anyone who loves tabletop role-playing games. I know a lot of us are Dungeons and Dragons fans, but if you also enjoy any of the fun tabletop role-playing games, come join us, share your stories, share your art. We would love that over at Facebook. The link is down there in the Twitch channel. And of course, come say hey over in Instagram. That's where you can find me and check out some more of my art over at Chelsea the Sulky. And we would love to see you guys and say hey and just chat and share your art together. Eventually, possibly, if I ever learn how to do more with social media and get some more tech knowledge going, eventually we'll get a YouTube started, but no promises, one small step at a time. And I know that there's been people asking about a Discord as well, but one problem at a time, friends. We've got 2 things going for us this week, and I think that's it with announcements. So without further ado, we will get our story going today, because I know you're all excited to see what's up past the spine of the world, off into the cold lands. So here we go. Let's get started. All right, everyone. So when we go farther north past the spine of the worlds, we go out towards the cold lands. And I'm afraid that far north, things get rather interesting. When adventurers go past to the Arctic wastes of the cold lands, you have to worry about whether or not things of survival and frozen wastes can even manage to handle all of the adventures that you have planned. You see, staying warm is quite the issue. And after traveling along for all that time, adventurers can be quite exhausted. There's not a whole lot of resources that far north. And after many days of travel, you might be quite relieved to come across the small frozen settlement of Borgstrand. Can't say quite the same for those few villagers in Borgstrand seeing you small adventurers. But either way, thank goodness to find a place to rest from the place where the polar nights are constantly sending frozen sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit. Constantly sending these big storms crashing across frozen tundras and glaciers and mountain peaks. And although its dwellers are as gruff as the wilds that surround them, if you can make your way into their frozen hearts, well, it is nice to have a few friends along the way. And as you approach Borgstrand, hoping for a rest and respite from the colds, you may find that you hear a few cries for help coming from that town. And our adventurers certainly did as they approached. And while that might not surprise you, given the fact that, well, it is a frozen wasteland and things are bound to get hairy along the way, no person normally cries for help about wheat mash ale and chowder. Do they normally cry for help about food and ale? Well, we're about to find out tonight when our 3 adventurers wander into this small frozen hamlet. Tonight, our 3 adventurers include a rogue, a ranger, and a bard. And our 3 adventurers have found that something very odd is going on in this frozen hamlet. Borgstrand is a small settlement of steep-roofed cottages separated by twisting streets leading to, well, absolutely nowhere, I'm afraid. Near the center of town sits a tavern, and the source of the furious yells, of course, and most Fourth Stranders are too busy, tired, or just grumpy to stop and listen. But upon seeing our adventurers approach, the desperate tavern owner rushes up to them, saying, "All the ale you can eat or drink and the chowder you could possibly want, to whoever finds out who stole my supply." And, well, our adventurers may be exhausted from their trek through the wilderness, but they are tempted by the offer of lots of ale and chowder, particularly our bard. And if he can get an audience going, maybe he can get some gold out of that bargain. Our desperate tavern owner happens to be Rainer. Well, and he is quite upset. You see, he lost 2 buckets of his famous chowder, as well as 10 bottles of wheat mash ale. And given that the polar nights have set in way up here in the cold lands, it's a pretty good chance that absolutely no one is going to be able to bring him any new supplies. You see, the traders have settled in for the winter, and with there very little sunlight left in the cold lands, odds are no one's traveling this far north, not for quite some time. And business has been very lousy, so with his supplies gone, he's pretty much doomed at this point. He's very worried now. So, an offer of free food and drink, maybe more if you can wheedle it out of him. That's a pretty good offer, especially when you're tired and exhausted. And that's exactly what our bard did. With a little bit of negotiating, they got him to raise that reward to 25 gold pieces each. And there's a good chance he might just offer more because, after a little investigating, turns out they have to go to a very particular location. More on that in just a moment. Well, heading over to the tavern, it looks like something very odd is going on there. You see, the townfolk are muttering about how crazy Rainer is, going on and on about the missing chowder and the ale. But there has been some odd things going on around town. Have any of you all ever heard of mysterious small folk stealing things in the middle of the night? Any of your family members ever whispered about the little folk sneak around, stealing things, being mischievous? Any of you ever heard of the Durgar? You see, my grandmother used to whisper about them in the night, tell me little stories about how if I wasn't a good little girl, the Durgar might just come and steal me up. Well, that's exactly who we might be facing tonight if we're not careful, if we're not being good and nice. So, as they go to investigate what's going on at the tavern, they discover that in the middle of the night, or perhaps the wee hours of the morning, something very small and sneaky came to the tavern, broke through a window, and stole all that chowder and all those bottles of ale. Now, they can't be sure just yet if it was the Durgar who stole those things, but it certainly has very small humanoid feet, and it does seem to like the cold just fine because it wasn't wearing any shoes. So, it looks like whatever it is heading out north. Now, upon hearing that, Rainer decides to double his offer. If you can bring back all that chowder and all that ale safely and check on my friend who has a tavern up north and make sure he's doing okay, I'll double those gold pieces to 50 each. You see, Rainer's worrying about his old friend, Dagfinn Benedictson. Normally he comes down to town to resupply before the cold nights set in. But he didn't this year. For whatever reason, Dagvid Benedictson seems to be missing. Now, the polar nights are being particularly harsh this year, and everyone's pretty worried about him. Some people say he just went south to be with his family. Other people say he finally couldn't hack it and ran off. Some people say the Duergar got him. Either way, Dagfin's definitely mixing, and Rainer's worried about his friend. So, whatever's going on, since the adventurers are heading north, might as well cash in on that extra gold and go check in on him. Right? Why not? And since our adventurers are definitely looking in for some extra gold, why not, right? Right. However, things aren't looking so lucky for our adventurers. You see, it is the polar nights after all. And what comes with polar nights but polar storms, which is exactly what happens to them. They end up getting hit with a really solid storm. Now, unfortunately for them, I do something a little bit mean. I make them roll for extreme cold conditions. And they fail their con saves, which means they're playing with a couple levels of exhaustion tonight, which will be very interesting when they make it up north to where they're headed. Now, Rainer has advised that if they're going to check on old Dagfinn, that they head up north to the Snowed Inn, because that's where he serves traders and fishermen who live out on the northern peninsula of the cold lands. Now, he hasn't been dealing so well since his wife has died, and perhaps he's decided to just shelter at the inn until the cold nights have passed. But we don't know for sure. Either way, it's a great stopping point until you go tracking off whatever it is that stole that chowder and stole all of that wheat mash ale. So, might as well check in either way. So, our adventurers go north and trek through that storm and move and go and travel. And their toes are frozen and their noses are frozen, and it's getting more and more and more and more tiring. But they finally think that they've made it when they see a 2-story wooden structure off in the distance. Getting closer, they see that it has a stone foundation, nestled into a barren hillside at the edge of, yes, a peninsula. The front door is made of sturdy material hung by rusted iron hinges, but it has a padlock bound by chain bars, and they can't get entry to that inn. At least, not without some significant effort. Too exhausted to try to pry it open, and unsure of what to do about the locks, they decide to look around a little bit more. They see that the stained glass windows that once allowed in the sparse northern light have been boarded up. But walking up closer, they see that the creaking of the aging boards is all that they can really hear over the winds. They realize that they're going to have to be very sneaky if there's anyone still left in the inn, because the sound can be carried for quite some distance. Unfortunately for them, they're way too tired to be sneaky. If there's anything hiding in the inn, or anyone, they heard them coming from a mile off. Looks like whoever's in there definitely knows somebody's coming. They do realize, however, that there's no tracks around the front side of the inn. They haven't gone to the back side just yet, but any tracks in the front are definitely not there. Determined to get inside. It's cold. They're exhausted. They try to pry down that door. Without a crowbar in sight and none in their packs, they're unable to break down that door. They pound, they pry, they try everything they can, but no spells on them, and they're not able to blast down that door. Finally, with a great heaving effort, our dwarvish rogue, we never would have seen this one coming, oh Duergar, bashed down that door. Looks like whoever was hiding inside definitely knows that they're coming. And with that, they slam inside and out of the cold. It's still freezing inside, though. It looks like nothing much has been home for quite some time. The main room of the Snowed Inn was once a tap room. Although once the social heart of the Snowed Inn, sadly it's seen better days. Those stained glass windows are still bordered and secure all around the open space, and it's a complete mess. Cobwebbed covered tables and overturned benches crowd the decaying floor. As the adventurers look around, it seems like no one's been home for quite some time. And even a staircase leading upstairs to a surrounding mezzanine seems crumbling and decayed, almost like it wouldn't quite be safe to go upstairs. Unsure what to do or where to go, they try to check for footsteps in the cobwebs and the dust, but so far, none that they can see. I wonder what's going on here. Definitely no sign of Dagvin Benedictson just yet, but perhaps he's somewhere else in the inn. They call out for him. Dagvin! Dagvin, are you home? But they don't hear anything. The wind clatters the door. Oops, they left that open. It seems like possibly they're not quite sharp on their toes just yet because of the cold. Just when they think nobody's home, they hear the tip, 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 tap of small footprints, and a Duergar carrying a keg of, was that chowder? Steps through a door leading into another part of the downstairs inn. Before anyone can really react, he chops the chowder on the floor and goes, "Oi!" And everyone draws out their weapons. And just like that, we're attacking. Now, luckily for them, they do get the drop on that Duergar. He's surprised because he was carrying that chowder. And the fight doesn't last too long, and no one's too terribly injured. But they are still frozen, and only one Duergar is down. They were pretty sure there were more footprints, weren't there? Where are the other Duergar? Are there more Duergar out in the woods? They look around. They're not sure where else there are, but they keep looking. So far, they've found one barrel of chowder, but there's definitely at least one more missing somewhere. And they haven't found all that ale just yet. So they continue down the halls, checking things out. But they're still pretty frozen, and they're definitely not sneaky. So I don't know what's going to happen to them just yet. And that's when they head into the large kitchen. Now, our rogue is pretty smart. She decides to try to be as sneaky as she can and heads down the hall. She tries to slip into the kitchen, but sadly, she is not quite as sneaky as she had hoped and comes face to face with one more Duergar. This one has already put down his barrel of chowder and has already been stacking ale, but he heard our rogue coming, and the two of them eyeball each other across the various casks and kegs before the two of them can decide what they want to do next. I'm afraid we're going to press pause there in the kitchen with a rogue and a Duergar facing each other down. And we'll have part 2 next week. All right, we're going to have a small intermission while I set up for a little bit of painting here. And hopefully I will see you guys in a couple of minutes. It helps when you turn your mic back on. Did that last week too. As we get back into the painting area here, I wanted to give you guys a chance to see how Phoba turned out from last week. So this is kind of what she looks like here. So I think it kind of worked out pretty good where I kind of went over a little bit more with some ink. I know the light's not great, so it's not picking up like all of the undertone and colors and stuff, but that's kind of where we ended up here with her colors and things. Oh, this one piece of tape just doesn't want to stay. So I think it kind of looks kind of cool. So yeah, tell me what you guys think in the comments and stuff. So because I thought it looks kind of nice how that kind of turned out a little bit. So yes, indeed. So thoughts, comments, concerns, what would you guys have done differently? Yeah, so as always, feel free to chat even during like our story time, because you know I don't mind talking to myself. I am a teacher, but it does get kind of lonely up here. So yes, always feel free to chat. I do love that. So yay. All right, so we're gonna get into finishing up the painting here. So this is what we're working on. Just a little bit of kind of a snow landscape to go with our story from the cold lands. I would like to kind of add in some trees, a little bit more shrubbery. I had to stop that before because I noticed, I don't know if you saw in the pre-recording of the watercolor, it was bleeding a lot. I didn't use a ton of water, but maybe these particular watercolors I'm using, it was just kind of bleeding through the paper a bit. This is hot pressed paper instead of my preferred cold pressed, so maybe that had something to do with it. We'll see. It happens sometimes. But so I wanted to make sure that it was perfectly dry before I went back in and did kind of the dry brushing that you tend to kind of do with shrubbery. So yeah. Anyways, so that's kind of where we're at with that. So before I test out doing a tree though, because we've got some really cool color. Sorry, I like to tape down my paper, especially with watercolors, because I just want to make sure that there isn't any warping, especially when you're using a lot of water. It probably doesn't matter at this point because we're going to do some dry painting, but I just want to make sure that like it's being cooperative. Anyways, so now that we're doing a tree, I just want to make sure that the paints that I'm using are gonna work for this kind of a thing, because I don't know if you guys have ever used, I'll show you, this kind of palette paint with watercolors. I personally really like it because you don't have to worry about pulling too much paint from the tube and then just being like, I didn't need that much paint and now it won't go back in. And that's the end of that. So, you know, now I have all of this paint and I can just pull what I want, and that's like it, and I'm not wasting all this extra paint. But I'm not entirely positive how that's going to work with doing a tree, so we're going to try it. And if it doesn't work, I have tube paint that I can use. It's like ancient. I don't know if, yeah, I kind of don't trust it, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm gonna just test it on a spare piece of paper that I've got. That way I'm not putting it directly onto my words. Wow, words are really hard tonight. I don't know why. I don't want to put it directly onto the piece that I'm working on, because watercolors are forgiving, but after a certain point you like can't go back, and it's like the end. That's it, we're done. So, you know, don't make mistakes and then can't undo it. You know what I mean? Especially when you're working with like really dark colors, like brackish brown. Like there's no going back when you're going on top of like a wash gray. Like, I'm sorry, there's just no undoing that. So we're just gonna kind of see how this plays out, and it either will or it won't. We'll see. We shall see. But I'm optimistic. So anyways, how are you all doing tonight? Any thoughts on our new music? Too loud, too soft? Stop playing it. That's cool. I'll keep talking to myself. I don't mind. Well, actually it might mix pretty well. We'll see. I don't know if you guys have ever used Sennelier. I know that's kind of like one of those, ooh, we're being fancy kind of brands, but like they do have a student line, and I do kind of like it. Okay, let's just see how this goes. Oh, actually, this might work just fine. There is kind of too much water on this one brush. We'll see. Yeah, that will work. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay. Sometimes you just have to trust your instincts. I do think I want to switch brushes though. Kind of don't like that one, which means I want to retest. I lied. It's fine, guys. It's totally fine. Okay. I feel kind of bad that you guys can't see me mix the paint because I have to keep it on my lap now that I have all this stuff like on the desk, but I also don't care. Bunny hair. I don't know if any of you all have pets, but like I keep finding rabbit hair in the most random places. The other day, I have to tell you this story because speaking of random places, I sometimes wear leggings to school. Some of you guys know that I'm a school teacher. Take it back. I kind of like the other brush better now. And I feed my rabbit Timothy hay. Yes, exactly like the hay you feed horses. And it's really good for their teeth and digestive system, actually. And hay sometimes finds its way around the room and house and freaking everywhere. And so what happened is a piece of hay worked its way into my leggings. I don't even know how this happens, but it did. And so I didn't notice until I got to school and I was teaching and I was walking around class and I was just like, what is this thing rubbing against my upper leg? And I just kind of like rubbed my hand against my leg to try to figure it out. And I was just like, it's it's rabbit hay. And it's one of those things where it's like you can't even really explain what's wrong to your students because you would sound completely insane. And I had to walk around school all day like that with hay in my leggings. And it slowly like worked its way down my leggings too. And by the end of the day, it was like in my boots, rubbing against my ankle, giving me a blister. Can't even. The stuff we put up with for our pets, I swear. So yeah, that's my rabbit story of the week. You're welcome. Is this still damp? It's been like 3 days. Anyways. You know it's cold out when paper doesn't dry. Ugh. Okay, I have to reload my brush. Apparently it wasn't wet enough. Uh-oh, my tummy says it's hungry. None of you all need to know any of this, by the way. I'm just like randomly spewing stuff to keep me entertained. You know you have ADHD when? You all can tell me to shut up whenever you want. I really don't care. I won't get offended. Trust me. I've heard worse from middle schoolers. You could not say anything worse than what an 8th grader can say, I swear. Like you all think high schoolers are bad? Do battle with an 8th grade girl. Okay, that looks good. I want a tree here. Let's make a branch go this way. The fun part is like the very end when you get to, oh, that was almost too thick. Oh well. No mistakes in heart, just happy little accidents. Is the end when you get to add like snow. I don't know if any of you guys are planning to go to GenghisCon this year out in Colorado, but I'm really hoping there'll be snow because here in Southern California, it never snows. It is one of those geographical impossibilities. But I have always wanted to see snow. That's what I want for Christmas, is just a little bit of snow, just a wee bit, you know? Like, it doesn't have to be fresh snow at Genghis Khan. Just want a little bit. Just so I can know what it's like to see snow. I just think that would be cool. Okay, once it starts to kind of like fade out, that's when you can do the stuff that's more in the distance. That's what makes it kind of fun. Happy little tree. I actually got my mom to watch the Twitch last week after we were done, and she was just like, "You need to stop talking like Bob Ross." It's like, "Thanks, Mom. Anything else?" She's like, "No." It's like, oh, okay. Italians. I don't know what to tell you. It's love, though. Italians only critique you if they love you. It's true. Any of you guys, if you ever marry into an Italian family, it's absolutely the truth. They only critique the ones they love. They don't give a darn, they just nod. It's true. Don't believe me. Go meet an Italian. Nobody ever believes me, and then they're just like, my Italian mama the other day, she was just nodding. I was like, told you. Because she doesn't care, but she wants to be polite. I don't know if it's an Italian thing or if it's more of a Catholic thing, but either way, they all do it. On the other side of the family, we have Irish. It's an interesting combination at Christmas, let me tell you. Of course, my grandfather was Jewish. He just frowns at you. You can always tell. He doesn't like the way you did it. He just frowns. He says that's why I always glare at my students. Get it from him. I just frown. I can't do it for very long, though. I don't know how to be angry. I don't know how to be disapproving like that. I just can't do it. That's okay. They will get plenty of angry teachers in their lives. You should have at least one silly one. Alright, let's get some more shrubbery in here. While it dries, and then we'll add in some snow. What's nice about painting on white paper instead of toned is that then you don't have to do a ton of the whole snow thing. You can just kind of like do whatever. But you should still do a little bit. That one's almost too much green, but whatever. Can always tone it back up. Really hope you all can't hear my tummy rumbling, because that would be embarrassing. Shrubbery. Oh, did I ever tell you guys? Aw. Honestly though, watercolors are so forgiving. Like, you just kind of have to throw it out there and then kind of like make it do. How do I explain? Just kind of make it do whatever, you know? And it will just kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Like, there are so many things that, like, you could spend forever trying to make it work, and you will always hit this wall of like, meh, that's it. Like I think coding is kind of one of those things. Like, I've developed a minimal understanding of coding, but like I will never be a master coder. Like no. But like watercolors are one of those things where you just like, you get the paper, you get some paint, and you just throw it, and just, you know, and instinctually eventually you're gonna figure it out. And like, yeah, maybe we'll never, like, I know there's some things I'll never be able to do in watercolor. That's one of the reasons why when I did Photo last week, I did like the graphic sketch first, because for me, humanoids in watercolor, no thank you. I can't. I wish. But like, I can take watercolor pencil, like the grip of a pencil. There's something about, like, I can get past it that way. You know, you learn how to hack your brain. So like, you totally can. You can do it. You say that you wish you can paint like that, you can. Just take the paint, the paper, and do the thing. So, and there's so many cool lessons on YouTube. Like, I wish I could teach paint. I can't. I can teach you social studies or math. Can't teach painting. Obviously, watch me try. You can see me right now. Not happening. Let's get some. Oh, it dried. Gosh darn it. Multitasking is not happening tonight, you guys. But like, anyone, I firmly believe, truly, for everyone who's just like, I can't do the fine arts, it's not a thing. It is. You can absolutely, under any circumstances, just try. And it will eventually, over time, you will develop a mastery. You just have to give yourself the chance to pick up the brush or the pencils and just go with it, you know? But it all starts with taking the time and, you know, just trying. And it will take time. It's not one of those things that like you can do overnight, or like it does take years of repeated practice, you know? And I think that's one of the things that can seem daunting with it, is the years. But watercolors are a great place to start, because like, student sets are not that much money. Like, most places have a Michael. I want to say even there's a Michael's in Canada for you guys. I'll look that up. I will Google that for next time. But I want to say that most places will have. Gosh darn it, this brush. You know what? I might get rid of this one after tonight. Just not happy. Not a happy camper. But even the set I'm using right now, and it is a high quality set. Sennelier is one of the top producers in the world. They originally, was it Picasso, or could be wrong. I want to say that they originally started with making pastels specifically either for Picasso or one of the other early now I'm forgetting the style. Anyways, you guys know what I mean. He requested a specific kind of pastel, and so they made it specifically for him, and that's kind of what got them their start. And from there they branched out because they could make pigments that nobody else could produce. And so they are kind of a high-end brand, and they're based out of Paris, France. If you guys ever make it to the Louvre, apparently their workshop is like right across the street, and I've always wanted to go. I'll probably never go, but I've always wanted to go. But their student quality brands is actually not that expensive. Like, this was $30, which I know, okay, that sounds insane, but when you think about the fact that a 24 set of watercolors is more like 60, that's not that bad. So, you know, it's not that expensive to get a quality student set if you really wanted one. So getting started, it's not that bad. The brushes are what's gonna kill you. So sorry. Yeah, it happens. Okay, let's see if we can get some snow in here. Yay! Okay, this is looking like snow. Okay, that's definitely nice. Yes, that looks like proper snow. Okay, that makes me happy. Okay, I need to dampen my brush a little bit more. I'm actually kind of surprised how wet this white is stained, but if it's happy, I'm happy. Look, that tree was still damp and I just touched it. Oops. Shit happens. They are. It's true. Crafts are generally expensive. Fine art supplies in general are more. Part of it's because of the materials that go into them. Pigments in particular are totally shunning. Ew. Are incredibly expensive. Especially paints and pastels are almost always way more. Sorry, I did that last week too. If any of you guys were here last week, remember I was like, I'm gonna try not to do that this week. It's actually a really bad habit to get into, to be honest. But yes, it's because of a lot of the stuff that goes, especially some of the more high quality things, because they're literally pulling like materials out of the earth and using that to create a lot of these paints and pastels. So like it's almost like they're doing it the exact same way that a lot of us would have encountered like way back in the day. So like you think about how like the Egyptians would have ground up certain materials to make like their woad paints and things. Like we're kind of doing it the same way with a lot of these high quality materials. And so that's part of what makes it so expensive. And then at the same time, we're then trying to make sure that these materials then can last long term, because we've learned certain things like maybe we shouldn't let artists mix their pigments at home because it can cause arsenic poisoning, which is part of what killed Vincent van Gogh. So now we're trying to pre-mix them in these warehouses, but then part of why artists were buying pigment and mixing them at home is you pigment can't stay mixed long term. It's like this whole go away fly. It's this whole issue. So then you have to figure out how can you sustain pre-mixed pigment in a tube and make sure that it's not going bad. And then that's an expensive process to keep it that. And then how do you do that without it being so toxic you're hurting artists and the environment? So it's like this whole thing that makes it. Anyways, you guys didn't need like a whole lecture, but you're welcome. History lesson. So yeah, that's why paints and stuff are expensive. Anyways, now you know. There's really no excuse for the brushes though. I mean, unless you're getting it like fine horsehair brushes, but with like cedar wood handles, but like there's no reason for a single brush to be $60. Like, I don't know why. Like, everyone raves about the red. There's these brushes called it's either redwood or red tipped brushes. I can never remember, and they're literally like $60 a, not a set, a brush. I can't talk about it. But then when you think about it, makeup brushes are just as expensive. Like, why? And then those brushes like disintegrate after a few months. Like, makeup brushes are ridiculous. Paint brushes last longer than that. Don't even know. Anyways, that was like several rants thrown together. Sorry. I just have a lot of thoughts and feelings about why my stuff costs so much. You now know why I have no money. Well, that's not the only reason. It's because I live in California. I'm a teacher. So there's two reasons. It's because I have multiple very expensive hobbies. Okay. Last thing we're going to do here together is we're going to throw in some snow droplets. So I'm actually going to move anything of value away here because I tend to sort of get it like everywhere. And I'm going to use what brush do I trust? Yeah. Okay. So I don't do this technique very often, so it's probably gonna be kind of interesting. Oh no, brush went under the. Oh, now it's gone. Well, that brush is gone. Just lost a brush under the storage unit. It's like never coming back. That's fine. That was one of those cheapo, like, oh, I got it for $2 brushes. And I usually use the tip to like mix paint. I buy a lot of cheapo brushes literally just so I can mix paint. Cause like I like to take the tips and then I go, and then it like builds up on the ends, and then the brush is like ruined. Cause I'm a weirdo like that. It's totally fine. So yeah. But yes, yeah, it is really cool, all the history stuff. I know lots of weird random shit. Sorry, I didn't put on like the swear thing on the Discord, on the Twitch. I hope we don't have any underage friends tonight. I just swore. It's fine. I just won't put that part on YouTube. Okay, I was doing so good too about not swearing. I had such a roll going. It's fine. I do go all day without saying a single swear word, so I feel like I'm owed like one when I get home. It's good, guys. Nobody tell my students that I swear. Okay. Only occasionally. It's not like all the time. And I don't really know any of the bad ones, except when Tori teaches them to me. Tori's watching tonight. I'm sorry. Okay. Alright, so I need a lot of water on my brush when I do this. And then we're basically just going to be flicking. She is or is not? Oh, she's got D&D. Okay. Yeah, I kind of figured. You can tell her I don't care. I kind of care. Alright. No, she knows. I'm pretty sure she knows she's the one that teaches me all the bad words. And the naughty jokes. She's the bad influence in my life right now. Cry. I don't think she cares, though. Actually, she's probably proud of that fact, though, that I think about it. Oh, no. Whatever. We all have that one friend. Tori's mine. Okay. Alright, let's see how this goes. She probably loves it. It's true! She's gonna get it tattooed somewhere. I am the bad influence. Okay. Alright. Let's see how this goes. I haven't done this in a long time. I'm about to get paint all over me. It's fine. Okay, I'm kind of aiming it in the wrong spot. Here we go. I don't know if this is showing up on camera, but it's actually looking really cool. I feel like it's like not showing up at all. Okay, that's a little bit better. There we go. I just wasn't close enough. Okay, I'm gonna pick up a little bit more paint. I just feel like it's drying so quickly on this brush. I don't know, can you guys really see that the snow is like... I'll put a photograph up later on Instagram. I feel like it's just not picking up the way I want. That is kind of like the one downside of doing this on Twitch, is that like the camera doesn't always pick up all of like the nuances of colors, because like there's just so much cool stuff going up in the sky, and I feel like it's just not quite picking up everything that I want. Just fine, whatever. Be that way. Stupid camera. If any of you guys have like camera suggestions for specifically recording this kind of art, like please do let me know. Yes, do follow all of the things. You're welcome to find me on Facebook. I've got that new I finally figured out how to link it on Twitch. Ha ha ha, I'm so proud. And I did not have to ask anyone for help. It's like my one accomplishment this week. So I managed to link some social stuff on Twitch without asking for help. It's okay. Small baby steps. But we got Instagram on there, and we have a new Facebook group going. Someday we may even get a Discord group going. You never know. And then we have a suggestion box. Yay for suggestion boxes. So you guys can tell me stuff that you want to talk about during discussion time, or hey, we want to see this kind of a picture, or, you know, do this kind of story next. Next week we'll go on to part 2 of what's going on at the snowed inn. But, you know, we got Christmas coming up. If you guys want to do like a Christmas thing, or hey, let's do this thing for New Year's, or like, you know, what kind of stuff do you guys want to learn about? Like, tell me, give me thoughts. At some point I am going to run out of ideas and things to say. Even teachers run out of things to say. Like, we can only talk about ourselves for so long before we get bored. Okay. I mean, it will take me a few months. I've been talking for a while, but eventually I will run out of things to say. It's inevitable. All right. Okay. So, I think I'm going to let this dry. May or may not clean up some lines with a marker later. Do some inking. I think I want to do some really tiny fine lines with the pen later because shrubbery. Just shrubbery reasons. And then tomorrow sometime when it's totally dry and the lighting's really nice in the morning, I will have this posted either to Instagram or Facebook or something. Both is good. Both is good. Got that meme going. I knew it. I knew I was going to sneak that meme in there somewhere. It's that meme from, is it Road to El Dorado? Yeah, I love that movie. All right. So yes, and that's where we're going to leave it for tonight. Next week, part 2 of what's going down in the cold lands. Hopefully I will see you guys all there. So thank you for joining me and watch me do watercolors. Next week I'll come back with something else cold and snow related, possibly watercolor. Maybe we'll branch out to acrylics. We'll see, throw it in the suggestions box, and maybe we'll do something new and fancy. You never know. Otherwise, thank you all. Have a lovely night, and don't forget to feed your adventure mimics. Bye, everyone.